Welcome to the Huddle.
Happy Monday, my friends, and welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast as we are live on the YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and, of course, on the Huddle Sports Network. I'm, of course, your host, David On Point Huppin, right there from the Daily Blitz blog. My brother, Christian Simpson. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you feeling?
I'm good, man. And, David, I want to be one of the first people to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, man. I've been knowing you since 2020. We've been connected at the hip.
Yeah.
With this show for a couple years now, and I just want to thank you for everything you do for me, man.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. But yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you as well. We're always a good contributor here at Prime Sports World. We couldn't do what we do without the Daily Blitz vlog and Christian Simpson.
Oh, man.
So we appreciate you very much, my friend.
Now, listen, I wanted to come on, break down some of these games with you because I will be doing a live breakdown of the Ravens and Chargers on Twitter. I'll give David the Twitter feed so you can keep up with me. It is at Daily Blitz _61. But look, we got business to take care of, David. So let's dive right in.
Let's get right into it, baby. Let's talk about Thursday night football in the snow as the Cleveland Browns get the victory 24-19 as they score. Jameis Winston gets that rushing touchdown, put the Steelers away for good. This game was wild. The weather in this game, there was like a picture on the internet, making its rounds on the internet. It was like one series, like 10-minute difference, like totally normal, and then totally snow-filled where you couldn't see anything. Pittsburgh on the Pittsburgh Steelers side, they fall to 8-3, 21-28, 270 yards and a touchdown. Jaylen Warren had a rushing touchdown. Calvin Austin III had a receiving touchdown. On the other side, Jameis Winston did just enough to win this game, including a very nice rushing touchdown from Jameis Winston. Also had 2 rushing touchdowns from Nick Chubb, and we also had a pick thrown by Jameis Winston is in Jameis Winston style as the Browns kind of saved their season a little bit, even though the season's definitely over. But it's nice to get your hat on a victory here. Nick Chubb, two touchdowns, and Jerry Jeudy continues to have a solid season as a member of the Cleveland Browns, 6 for 85.
Remember what I said last week on a preview show, David? I said that this was a trap game for the Steelers for 2 reasons. 1, Mike Tomlin always seems to struggle on Thursday night. And 2, the Browns always seem to give the Steelers their best, especially in Cleveland. And that's exactly, you saw both cases on Thursday night. Steelers offense not being able to capitalize in a red zone. And that's going to be the issue, I feel, that does them in, is the ability to not leave points on the table. And a lot of teams are doing that. Field goals aren't going to always win your football games. I know they've done it twice, but this is a huge win for the Cleveland Browns. I've been to Cleveland before, and they get up for this game, those fans.
Yep. And the fans are having themselves the time of their lives there in the snow. But yeah, I think you bring up a good point. I mean, in the playoffs, when it really matters, you're going to need to score touchdowns to beat good football teams. You're not going to be able to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, those upper echelon teams in the AFC by kicking field goals. It's just not going to work. I know they beat the Ravens without scoring a good touchdown, but this is not going to fly in the AFC when it comes to championship time for sure.
I agree.
So I think I would be really concerned if I was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan about what this offense looks like at times. And then before we get into Sunday, switching gears, we got a quick message from our sponsor here at the Huddle Sports Network. So go and enjoy our little commercial here. We'll be back in about a minute.
Where we're breaking boundaries and redefining podcasting. Broadcasting live on 6 different platforms, we're bringing you the latest in sports like never before. Imagine tuning into real-time discussions, expert analyses, and fan interactions all at your fingertips. Each platform offers a unique experience, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. We're not just sharing stories, we're creating a community of passionate sports enthusiasts. Join us as we dive deep into the evolution of podcasting, where every episode is a chance to engage, debate, and celebrate the world of sports. This is where your voice matters and the game never stops. Welcome to the Huddle Sports Network, where we're breaking boundaries and redefining podcasting. Broadcasting live on 6 different platforms, we're bringing you the latest in sports like never before, where sports passion meets podcasting brilliance. I'm Mike, the Bear fan, and alongside Bill, the Packer fan, and our buddy Ken Catalone, we're bringing you an incredible lineup of 38 diverse podcasters. Each one brings their unique flavor to the table, covering everything from game analysis to behind-the-scenes stories. Imagine diving deep into the minds of experts who live and breathe football, sharing
A little bit of technical difficulties with that. We'll work out the kinks as we go through it. Let's talk about Sunday afternoon football. Let's talk first about another heartbreaking defeat from our Chicago Bears. That's something we're going to do now this season. We're just going to lose games in heartbreaking fashion week after week as we take the Minnesota Vikings into overtime by scoring 17 points in the final frame, but we could not get points on the board in overtime. Minnesota wins 30-27. Sam Darnold, probably his best game in a few weeks because the key did not turn it over in this game. 22 of 34, 330 yards and 2 touchdowns. Aaron Jones scores the first second half touchdown for the Minnesota Vikings, I think in a month for the Minnesota Vikings, as he had over 100 yards rushing. Jordan Addison had a massive game, 162 yards and a touchdown. T.J. Hockenson had a massive game, 114 yards, no touchdowns. Justin Jefferson pretty quiet in this game. Caleb Williams was good in this game. Really bounced back after what was an abysmal performance, or a pretty solid performance against Green Bay, and not a good performance against the Patriots, but 32 of 47, 340 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also led this team in rushing. DJ Moore had a massive game, so did Keenan Allen, as the Bears come up just short in their comeback attempt against Minnesota.
Yeah, that's the thing. The Bears, they're in games until they're no longer in the game, if that makes sense. And I'm going to be completely honest with you, David. I'm not sold on Minnesota. I'm really not. They're 9-2 now, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't think I've ever had. Yeah, I don't think I've ever had the least amount of faith in a 9-2 team like I do the Minnesota Vikings. Haven't really played a complete football game since they played Houston, and that was all the way in week 3. I noticed their problems, like I told you, in London when they played the New York Jets, and ever since then, they've just kind of been teeter-tottering. They struggled with Jacksonville, struggled with Tennessee, struggled with the Bears. And those are games that they should be winning. As far as the Bears, yeah, that was tough because they did everything to get back into that game, only to lose it.
Yep. I mean, you saw what good Caleb Williams looks like in this game, as he was magnificent in that final frame, really brought this team back, took ownership of this team. So kudos to Caleb Williams. Kill the Chicago Bears. It would have been easy to just, clean up shop and call it a day. But they continue to play hard, continue to play well. From there, we'll talk about the NFC North again as the Detroit Lions put down the Indianapolis Colts 24-6. And we saw more of bad Anthony Richardson in this game. A lot of what we've seen most of his regular season. But Jared Goff, he didn't really have to do a lot in this game in order to win. The running game took care of business for sure. 26-36, 269 yards. No touchdowns, no picks. Jahmyr Gibbs had 2 rushing touchdowns. David Montgomery had a rushing touchdown. He did leave this game with an injury. I have not seen what that injury status is now. He's questionable. He was a non-participant in Monday's walkthrough because, they play on Thursday night. So everything in the practice side is going to be accelerated. Jameis Williams, 5 for 64. On the other side, not a good day at the offense if you're Anthony Richardson. 11 of 28, never scored a touchdown in this game. Anthony Richardson also the leading rusher for this team. And Michael Pittman, 9 for 69. But 11 of 28 for Anthony Richardson. This is that completion percentage that we've been talking about, which is not good enough in the NFL.
Yeah, and the thing about the Detroit Lions, what makes them so good is when they have you down, they keep you down. Offensively, they're going to wear you down. They're going to run the football. They're going to pound the rock down your throat. They're going to control the line of scrimmage. They're going to get that push up front with that offensive line. And then what does that turn into? Play action. Jared Goff gets to use that play action and take a little dink or dump down the field. And then defensively, they've done it so well collectively, David, as a unit, even after losing their heartbeat and their best player in Aiden Hutchinson. They're rushing the passer. They're stopping the run. And when they have a big lead on you, physically, they just continue to wear you out. And I think that's a little bit of what we saw. Here's the amazing thing. The Lions haven't lost a game since week 2. I mean, they are really rolling right
They're
now.
cooking. They're cooking right now for sure. Like they're going to be a problem when it comes to playoff time in the NFC, and probably they're potentially going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl when it's all said and done.
Look and listen, barring any setbacks, even if let's say they were to get the 2 or 3 seed in the NFC, they can travel and win because physicality travels. When you have that ground game and when you have the offensive line that they do that violently controls the line of scrimmage, that travels. And I don't think people realize that.
And shout out to Wayne 15's Pat Hoffman, one of the anchors at the station I work at. He was at this game at Lucas Oil Field, the house that Peyton Manning built. He's a big-time Lions fan. So also a real good guy. One of those genuine, so see really nice guys on TV. He's a really nice guy in real life, too. So you love to see it. Couldn't be happening to a nicer guy. To the AFC, and we got the New England Patriots getting beat down, bullied really by the Miami Dolphins as they did not score until there was that Christian Gonzalez scoop and score, and then they scored a garbage time touchdown in the final frame as Miami goes on to win 34-15 in South Beach. Drake May, tough day at the office for Drake May, 22 of 37, 222 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Antonio Gibson was the leading rusher. Demario Douglas was the leading receiver, but Austin Hooper caught that garbage time touchdown. Tua Tagovailoa had a mini virtuoso here for the Miami Dolphins. He had 4 touchdowns in this game. Devon Achane also had 2 touchdowns as Miami just beat down. He had 2 receiving touchdowns, and then Jalen Waddle had a touchdown, and so did Jonas Smith. And I think it's more about talking about this Miami Dolphin defense that we talked about on Tuesday. I mean, they've been absolutely stifling the last 3 weeks, now allowing the 3 straight opponents not to score over 20 points, over 17 points, really. 19 by the Raiders. I don't remember what the Rams scored, but this defense has been incredible in the last month.
Yeah, their defense really has been incredible. But the guy I want to highlight is the quarterback. I love what Tua Tagovailoa has been doing. He's healthy, first and foremost, and it's great to see him back on the field. But he's just in such command of this offense, David, spreading the ball around, not forcing the ball. He's protecting himself, and you just see the Dolphins are a completely different offense when he's on the field rather than when he's not.
Yeah, I mean, this Miami Dolphins team, I know you call it highlighted to it, but this defense, I've been telling you, like they have been just an absolute force. And but let's also preface this by saying they played the Raiders and the Patriots, not exactly world beaters when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. But that Rams game, I mean, they were absolutely stifling for that Rams game, and that is an offense that can score points. I know they didn't as much this week against the Eagles, but this has been a stifling defense.
And what makes that Rams win for Miami more impressive is the simple fact that they were able to fly across country as an East Coast team and go to the West Coast and leave with a win. We know how difficult it is for those teams to fly across the country.
Moving on from there, we're going to talk about Christian's New York Football Giants, which it had to be extra painful to watch Saquon Barkley feast on the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday Night Football. But Tampa Bay, Tommy DeVito, not a great day at the office as you make your first start of the season, but Tampa Bay wins 30-7. They basically ran the football down the Giants' throat in this game, including 4 rushing touchdowns, and a Giants team that was at the time earlier this season in the top 5 when it came to sacks did not register even 1 in this game against Baker Mayfield. Bucky Irving had a rushing touchdown. Rashad White had a rushing touchdown. Baker Mayfield, Sean Tucker, they all had rushing touchdowns like Oprah out here. Mike Evans 5 for 68. Tommy DeVito, just a tough day at the office for Tommy DeVito. 21 of 31, 189 yards. Tyron Tracy also had a fumble in this game, 9 for 42. And Malik Neighbors continues to have a pretty solid rookie season, 6 for 64.
Yeah, tough day for the New York Giants, but a bounce back win for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This win saved their season, in my opinion. And now I think they're back in the grand scheme of things in the NFC South. And the Giants, they just need to chalk this up. I honestly don't see them winning another football game the remainder of the year, David.
Yeah, as long as they're going to be continue rolling out Tommy DeVito, and I just this offense just doesn't seem to have it right now. Like the offensive line is terrible. If I was them, I would probably try to find out what you have in Drew Lock. Going forward, I don't know. The Giants are a mess, but Tampa Bay, yeah, this is a game where you kind of save your season. Like they have an opportunity still to win the NFC South, but it's very much up for grabs. As Atlanta had the opportunity to really run away with it, has not taken that opportunity. Tampa Bay, yeah, saved their season with this victory.
Yeah, they definitely did.
Moving on from there, probably the most entertaining game of the entire weekend. The Dallas Cowboys go into Maryland and take on the Washington Commanders and win this game 34-26. These two teams, Dallas scored 24 points in the final frame. This was a game that was 10-6 going into the fourth quarter. It ends up being 34-26. Dallas scores 24 in the final frame. The Commanders hang up 17 in the final frame. And you got to kind of feel for Austin Seibert. Has been one of the most accurate kickers in the NFL this season. Miss after a miracle touchdown by Terry Scary McLaurin to potentially tie the game. He misses the kick. And then the Dallas obviously gets that onside kick touchdown to basically seal the deal for the Dallas Cowboys as they win. I don't think it matters in the grand scheme of things, but Commanders now, losers of 3 games in a row, and kind of some of the holes that people talked about in the offseason about this team have kind of shown their face a little bit over the last month or so. But Cooper Rush, he had 2 touchdowns in this game, 24 of 32. Rico Dow, 19 of 86. CeeDee Lamb, 10 for 67. Luke Schoonmaker had a touchdown. So did Jalen Tolbert. And then on the other side, Jalen Daniels, an up and down performance for him. 2 touchdowns, 2 bad interceptions. He also had the leading rusher and a touchdown. Terry Scary McLaurin, the 86-yard touchdown. Zach Ertz had an early touchdown in this game. It's just not enough for Washington as they tried to crawl their way back and almost did. And have you seen that Cavante Turpin touchdown, that kick return, where he just did that spin room for no reason and just took it to the house? Man, he might be the most entertaining footballer to watch in the NFL right now.
Yeah, he really is. And look, special teams help the team, and special teams hurt a team. You got to capitalize on special teams. Football is won in 3 phases of the game: offense, defense, and special teams. And give the Commanders credit for the fight and being able to get themselves back in the game. But this was actually the best I've seen Dallas look since that Cleveland game. David, they got after Jaden Daniels. They made him one-dimensional. They stuffed the run. I don't really know if we could say they even kind of did it, but they got off the field on 3rd down. They made plays. The offense looked fluid, and Rush didn't look bad. But tough day at the office for the Commanders. They've lost 3 in a row, like you said, and I want to see where they go from here now.
I mean, you make argument. I mean, basically, they sell their soul for that Hail Mary victory against the Chicago Bears, and they have dropped 3 games in a row since. And they haven't looked good in any of those 3 games. Like, they looked okay, but like this was a game where your offense looked stagnant at best for majority of the game, and it wasn't until the final frame were you able to put up any points. And you basically got a miracle touchdown by Scary Terry McLaurin. To even have an opportunity, even remotely. Like if he gets tackled anywhere, any point during that run, the game's over.
I agree.
So, moving on from there, we got the Carolina Panthers who have been playing with some fight, but come up just short against the Kansas City Chiefs. They were coming off winning 2 games in a row, but Kansas City proved to be too much as Patrick Mahomes led the team down the field for the game-winning field goal to put them up 30-27. Patrick Mahomes, 3 touchdowns in this game. Kareem Hunt continues to get the start there with Isaiah Pacheco still being on IR, expected to return this week. 16 for 68. Noah Gray, back-to-back games with multiple touchdowns, 2 for him in this game. DeAndre Hopkins has another receiving touchdown in this game as well. Bryce Young has been pretty good since he's been reinserted into the starting lineup. He had a touchdown in this game. Chuba Hubbard continues to be one of the better running back stories of the NFL this season. 16 for 58 and a touchdown. David Moore had a nasty, really nice, like an FDR by Bryce Young to get that touchdown to David Moore. Really nice, 6 for 81 for David Moore.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be a get-right game for the Kansas City Chiefs. You lose your first game of the year. You kind of been teeter-tottering your way into victories and skating on thin ice, but give Carolina a lot of credit. And this leads me to what I told you when I first started contributing for this show, David. There's no such thing as an easy game in the NFL. And Carolina proved that yesterday. And I saw somebody say this on social media. They said, yeah, the Chiefs haven't been great. They've just been better finishers. And yeah, that's accurate. But I'm also going to say this too. I'm not going to say this team doesn't scare me or this team isn't done, because I did that last year and then I end up eating my words in February. So look, they're going to get it together. They know they have to tighten some things up.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes came out and said this in the post-game press conference, and he's like, we got to start getting some blowouts. Like this stuff where you're just pulling the rabbit out of the hat, it's fine against a team like Carolina, who's, let's be honest, not that good. You go up against a team that's, proven, like a Buffalo or a Baltimore, you're going to lose these kind of games.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
So, but yeah, for Carolina, I mean, for them to continue to fight, the season's over, but then to continue to play hard and play well, shows what kind of the coaching job that's been done there. His name is escaping me right now, but
Dave Canales.
Yeah, Dave Canales. Yes, thank you. He's done a really good job, I guess, coaching this team. Like, he's navigated that, benching Bryce Young. And I think Bryce Young, has played well enough to earn an opportunity to be the guy next season again. I know that's a conversation for another day, but he's probably played well enough where if you're Carolina, maybe you wait on one more season, give him one more shot at this.
Yeah.
But who knows? From there, another really dropped opportunity by the Houston Texans as I know they beat I can't remember who they played last week. I know they won that game.
Dallas.
A bad Dallas Cowboy team, but they go up against the Tennessee Titans in their own building and come up short 32-27. And they take explicitly that safety at the end, towards the end of the game where you had an opportunity. You accidentally step out of the back of the end zone. Out there, Dan Orlovsky's probably thanking his lucky stars, and somebody else has done this now, as people start to forget about his play. But I mean, this is a game where a Tennessee Titans team that is not really playing for anything, and you basically let them come back in this game and win. You get the pick six. You think that's going to be the deciding factor, but then you allow Tennessee to drive down the field and get that game-winning field goal by Nick Folk, and then you get the 2-point conversion. You get the safety when you're going to try to hopefully get the game tying score. Just not a good performance there for the Houston Texans. And C.J. Stroud has definitely had that sophomore slump that many people didn't think he would have, but he's for sure having it. Will Levis was good enough to get the victory here. 2 touchdowns and a pick. Tony Pollard went over the century mark and had a touchdown. Calvin Ridley had 93 yards. Chika Kongwu had a 70-yard touchdown, but that was his only catch of the entire game. And Nick Westbrook-Akine also had a receiving touchdown for the Tennessee Titans. On the other side, C.J. Stroud, as I mentioned, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Joe Mixon really just never could get it going in this game. 14 carries for 22 yards. Kate Stover had the game first touchdown, and Nico Collins had a touchdown in this game as well. Kate Stover, by the way, first NFL touchdown for him, so kudos to that young man.
Yeah, congratulations to Kate Stover. But when I look at this game, the one thing that stands out to me is Tennessee bottling up the run and just putting everything on the plate of C.J. Stroud to beat them. And he couldn't do it. Houston got to Will Levis 8 times yesterday, David. And Houston gave up 4 sacks of their own, but C.J. Stroud is under constant pressure. This offensive line has not been good. And everyone that was saying that the Texans were a contender coming into this year, you're starting to kind of see why they're about 2 or 3 years away from reaching that pinnacle, because they're not there yet. Joe Mixon gets shut down. Nico Collins, I know he's slowly but surely getting himself back into the rotation. Stephon Diggs is gone. And like you said, Stroud's really struggled this year, but that's because there's more tape on him.
Yeah. And talking about your offensive line, they gave up the 4 sacks for the Houston Texans, but they also gave up an additional 6 quarterback hits, and they had 9 tackles. The Tennessee Titans had 9 tackles for loss in addition to those 4 sacks in this game. That adds up.
And I always say getting to the quarterback doesn't always mean sacking the quarterback. It could be throwing him off his spot, pushing him to his weak side, collapsing his pocket, just letting him know, hey, look, we're coming after you.
To the late afternoon window, let's start first in Denver as they continue to build up some momentum here as they beat the Las Vegas Raiders 29-19. And don't look now, but Bo Nix is making a legitimate argument that he should be the offensive rookie of the year as he has been just outstanding the last month or so. 25 of 42 in this game, 273 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jalen McLaughlin, 7 for 44. Cortland Sutton continues to be like one of those underrated wide receivers that people probably should pay attention to. 8 for 97 and 2 touchdowns. On the other side of this, Gardner Minshew, unfortunately, broke his collarbone in this game, will miss the rest of the season, but he did have a touchdown and a pick before that happened. I'm not sure anything else about the Raiders need to be talked about. Amir Abdullah did have a receiving touchdown in this game as they fall 29-19 to the Denver Broncos.
Look, Denver's looking good right now, and it's because of the maturity of Bo Nix. He has really evolved he's evolving into a true NFL quarterback. Someone asked me yesterday, what is it about him that stood out to me? And I'm like, his poise and his ability to spread the ball around. Sean Payton did this with another quarterback. I think you know him, David. He's going to get a gold jacket in a couple of years. His name is Drew, and his last name is Breeze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Denver, I mean, they're scared. Their defense is fantastic. I mean, their offense is really coming around. This is going to be a team that's like, I don't really want to see Denver if they make the playoffs. Like, especially if they I don't think they're going to get a home game. But so you going to Mile High would really suck. But like, this is going to be a tough out when it comes to the playoffs because this team plays gritty. They play tough, and they seem like a team that travels too.
Definitely, and they're physical. They have an aggressive defense, and they know how to get home.
From there, going into the next blowout in the late afternoon window, let's going into Lambeau Field, the home of the Green Bay Packers, as they hang up 38 points on the Brandon Allen-led San Francisco 49ers. 38-10 in favor of the Green Bay Packers, as much as that pains me to say. Brandon Allen, tough day at the office, 17-29, 199 yards, and a touchdown and a pick. Chris McCaffrey, 11 for 31. George Kittle caught the lone receiving touchdown and the only touchdown for the San Francisco 49ers, as this is the San Francisco 49ers team that, yes, they're still in the hunt there in the NFC West, as they're only a game back, but these injuries are really starting to pile up for this team that had Super Bowl aspirations. On the other side, Jordan Love, they didn't pay. The Packers just ran it down the throat of the San Francisco 49ers. 4.4 yards per clip, 196 yards and 3 touchdowns, including a hat trick by Josh Jacobs. Jordan Love had 2 receiving touchdowns, 1 to Tucker Kraft and 1 to Malik Heath. As it might be his first NFL touchdown because that name does not look familiar to me at all. Romeo Doubs, 3 for 54. And San Francisco looked, as Izzy likes to talk about in the group chat, looked soft in this game. Also missing Nick Bosa. Drake Greenlaw still has not made his return from that Achilles tear. I'm not sure what his status is even going to be for the remainder of the season. But this is a team that, as you like to point out, the bully don't like to be bullied, and the bully was getting bullied in this game.
No, the bully was harassed in this game. Punched in the mouth. Green Bay ran that ball into the teeth of their defense. And look, we talk about Derrick Henry, and we talk about who I know we're going to talk about in a couple of games, David, in Saquon Barkley. But Josh Jacobs has really emerged as Green Bay's best player. It seems like every time he touches the ball, good things happen. And Green Bay just kept feeding him the ball yesterday, and he scored 3 touchdowns, which I think was a career high. And Tom Brady raves about this guy anytime he's done a Packers game. But when I look at San Francisco, it's just been that that slope of inconsistency, when you think they're getting ready to turn the page and go on a run, they take 1,000 steps back. I think what really hurt them was that loss against Seattle.
Oh yeah, I mean they've had 3 games this season where they had the lead going into the final quarter, 5 minutes, and they lost both of those games, all 3 of those games. So. Yeah. To the final game in the late afternoon window, the Seattle Seahawks escaped against the Air. Actually, this was kind of just what's crazy? Every time that me and Izzy think that a game is going to be an absolute shootout, it ends up becoming like this. A 16-6 victory for the Seattle Seahawks, marred by just sloppy, inconsistent play for majority of the game. As Seattle wins 16-6. Kyler Murray, 24 of 37 and a pick. Trey Brenson, 4 for 18. Trey McBride, 12 catches for 133 yards. And Trey McBride was just a man in this game. On the other side, Geno Smith, 21 of 31, 254 yards, a touchdown, 1 interception. Kenneth Walker, 16 for 41, and Jackson Smith-Njigba, 677 and a touchdown. As basically Seattle survived Arizona, as this game was just sloppy and just not that entertaining throughout.
No, it really wasn't. But kudos to Seattle for cooling down, which was a very hot Arizona team. They were rolling. They were winning a couple games in a row, looked to be in first place. And now this NFC West is going to be interesting because every team is still in the hunt for this division.
Yeah, up to this point in the last 3 games for the Arizona Cardinals, they scored 28, 29, and 31. And they come up in this game and they go to Northwest.
Seattle.
They go to Seattle, and they hang up 6 points in this game, including don't even score a touchdown, 2 field goals. So, yeah, tough.
Yeah.
To the final game, Sunday night football. And this is what you talk about when you have a running back just shut the door on your team. First, you have a 70-yard touchdown to open the second half. And then you have another 70-yard touchdown to basically ice this game for the Philadelphia Eagles. As they were, the Rams scored a touchdown. They were kind of hanging around in the fourth quarter. And then Saquon Barkley had that run and just put this game, it was over. The game was just absolutely over. 37-20, Los Angeles Rams as the Eagles get the victory. Jalen Hurts, he didn't really have to do a lot in the passing game as they were just running it like crazy. 15 for 22, 1 touchdown. Saquon Barkley, the highest rushing game or in terms of yards total in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles with 255 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Kenneth Wingwell also had a rushing touchdown. A.J. Brown had a receiving touchdown in this game. Also a really nice toe tap there by A.J. Brown as he was able to hold on to that ball just long enough for it to be a touchdown. Matthew Stafford, 24 of 36, 243 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kyron Williams got in the end zone. Cooper Kupp had a touchdown. Demarcus Robinson also had a touchdown for the Rams. But Puka Nacua goes over the century mark again for the Rams as they fall 37-20. But this game was all about Saquon Barkley as he basically sealed the deal with 2 big-time runs in this game.
Listen, Saquon Barkley also had 47 yards receiving.
Yeah.
So altogether, Saquon Barkley had
300 yards by himself.
Of total offense. He had more yards by himself than the Giants had as a football team yesterday. David, just let that sink. Let that click in. But Philly is rolling right now. They're playing physical football on both ends of the football. Jalen Hurts isn't turning the ball over. A.J. Brown is making A.J. Brown-like plays. But defensively, I want to see where they go now without the leadership of Brandon Graham because he tore his triceps in. This was reported to be his last season this year, and he's still a guy that could get to the quarterback. Rushing the passer is almost like a 3-point shooter. Doesn't matter how old you get. Once you have it, you always have it. This is a big win for the Philadelphia Eagles. They seem to just always play their best against the Rams. And, yeah, this is a tough loss for the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, you're coming off winning 4 out of 5 games. I mean, they're lucky that there's still only a game back in the NFC West, as those teams are all kind of at the same record. So they easily could bounce back after this. But yeah, to have Saquon Barkley have this kind of performance against a defense, with Jared Verse is probably going to be the defensive rookie of the year. With Brandon Fisk, who's also played pretty well, and who didn't they have the defensive player of the rookie of the year last year too on their team? His name was
the Rams or the Eagles?
Yeah, the Rams.
The defensive rookie of the year?
Yeah, I could have sworn.
Will Anderson won it last
Oh
year.
Yeah. They have what's his name? Oh my God, Kobe Turner, who had like 10 sacks last season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is a tough loss if you're the Rams. You welcome Philadelphia into your house, and they just run it down your throat. 7.0 yards per carry for the Philadelphia Eagles. They ran the ball 45 times for 314 yards. It's just. That's tough.
And give credit to that offensive line. Those big uglies up front, making it happen, violently dominating the line of scrimmage, as I like
and
to put it.
They talked about this in the broadcast a little bit. Like, their offensive line is just so much. Like, they have Mekhi Becton playing guard. The guy is like 330 pounds. Like, he's a super oversized guard, but it just makes his offensive line eventually overwhelms their opponents. And kudos to Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, they've really turned it around since a pretty rocky start to 7 in a row.
And look, I'll say this: I think they're the biggest threat right now to the Detroit Lions in the NFC.
I probably would agree with you on that as well.
Yeah.
But this has been our NFL season week 12 recap. Thank you very much for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. We are Prime Sports World. Tomorrow on the Prime, we're going to be breaking down Monday Night Football. We're going to be talking about the Harbaugh Bowl. We're going to be giving out our game balls, and we're also going to talk about week number 13 with our preview and predictions. I'm David Huffman, and from the DailyBlitz.blog, Mr. Christian Simpson. And Christian, what are we doing here at the Prime, my friend?
Oh, come on, man. We bring the heat, baby. It's only right.
And if you send over that link over to me, we'll get you forward over to into this group chat, so people can check out your analysis of the football game on Twitter of the Harbaugh Bowl. You don't want to miss any of that content. But thank you very much. I'm David Huffman, Christian Simpson. We'll be back here tomorrow. You all have a good night and stay safe out there.
We will.
I'm going to try to run this commercial one more time. So it glitched out a little bit earlier. I don't really know exactly what happened, but let's just try it one more time. And with that, you all have a good night and stay safe out there. I'll see you tomorrow, Christian.
Yep.